In Chapter 8, we're going to be talking about water and minerals. This video segment is going to focus mainly on water. The body needs more water than any other nutrient, and a person's body weight is actually made up of about 60% of water, and different factors can influence this number, which we'll talk about in a few slides. Water is really important because it performs, or it's needed for a whole host of functions in the body. So it participates in many chemical reactions. It's the medium that most chemical reactions take place in within the body. It also helps to carry nutrients throughout the body and deliver them to different cells and tissues for their own energy needs. Water is also the universal solvent for chemicals in the body. It also acts as a cleansing agent, so it helps to remove waste from blood and tissue. So this cleansing agent somewhat relates to carrying nutrients throughout the body. So not only is it carrying nutrients, but it's also helping to remove waste from the body. Additionally, water acts as a lubricant and cushion for the body. So it lubricates joints, so you're not creaky all the time. But it also helps to cushion and act as a shock absorber in particular places like the eyes, the spinal cord, joints, and then the amniotic sac. Water also acts as a coolant, so it plays a major role in maintaining and regulating body temperature. So as you can see from this slide, water is very important, and we need a lot of it. So where is water found in the body? This figure does a nice breakdown of where water is found. So it's found in both interstitial fluid, intracellular fluid, and then blood, plasma, and lymph. And again, all of that is going to make up about 60% of an individual's body weight. Water balance in the body is monitored by the hypothalamus, which is in the brain. And water balance is just the balance between water intake and water excretion. So when we lose more water or consume less water than we need, we can actually become dehydrated. And dehydration symptoms progress very rapidly. You can read more about symptoms in Table 8.1 in your book. But some of these symptoms include thirst, weakness, exhaustion. You may become delirious, and even death can result from severe dehydration. So dehydration is definitely of concern because just a little bit of dehydration can have some really negative effects, not only on these things, but can also cause you to lose a little bit of body weight. And then too much dehydration can, of course, lead to extreme weight loss and death. So if you're thirsty, you're probably already dehydrated. So it's really important to drink plenty of fluids and other liquids throughout the day. Because if you get to that point where you're already thirsty, you're probably already a little bit dehydrated. On the other hand, it is possible to consume too much water or have water toxicity. And this usually results from excess intake of plain water. Symptoms will include things like headache, muscular weakness, lack of concentration, poor memory, loss of appetite, and also death. So while dehydration is more common, water toxicity can definitely occur. And as I mentioned before, changes in the body's water content can also cause fluctuations in body weight. And mostly we see this with dehydration. And then thirst and satiety are what are going to govern water intake the most. But again, remember, back to this point, if you're already thirsty, if you're thirsty, you're probably already a little bit dehydrated. And then satiety, again, is those feelings of fullness. So both of these two things are going to govern an individual's water intake. So how much water do you need? As I mentioned before, water content of an individual varies, but the average is around 60%. And the amount of water that an individual has in their body, as well as the amount of water that an individual needs to consume, varies between individuals and then within individuals. So I don't need the same water recommendations as you do necessarily, but even me from day to day, depending on what I'm doing, my fluid recommendations or the amount that I need may change. So gender, age, body composition, temperature, altitude, physical activity level, and sweating all influence water needs. So men tend to need or have higher water needs than women. Water needs increase with age. Body composition. So individuals that have more lean body mass or more muscle mass have higher water needs than individuals who have more fat mass. So if you think about it, we said earlier that men have higher needs for water, and men tend to have higher higher amounts of lean body mass. So that relates these two of why men have higher water needs. As the temperature increases, water needs increase. So if it's very hot outside, you know, we need more water to prevent dehydration. When we're flying altitude, so if you're skiing or if you're even flying in an airplane, all of this increases your water needs. Very, very strenuous physical activity or any, you know, physical activity beyond what you normally do can also increase your water needs. And then sweating. So when you're sweating, you're losing a lot of water. So it's important to replace that. So this is going to increase your fluid needs as well. So the DRI recommendations are about 13 cups a day for men and 9 cups a day for women. So remember we said up here that gender plays a role in how much water is needed. So how do you meet your fluid needs? You don't only have to consume water. Anything that is a fluid or is liquidy provides and counts towards your overall fluid needs. So water, of course, is the best choice. It doesn't provide any extra calories. It's just water, hydrating water. But other unsweetened beverages like unsweetened iced tea are a good choice. And then other beverages in general. So juices, coffees, teas, milk, all of those will help meet your daily fluid needs. The thing you have to be careful of with coffee and tea is the caffeination because caffeine acts as a diuretic. So you just want to make sure that not all of your fluid that you're consuming is coming from caffeinated products. Juicy fruits and vegetables also count towards your fluid needs. So things like watermelon, celery, any other really juicy fruits and vegetables count as well. And then water and solid food. So think about something like a soup that's very liquidy. This can count towards your fluid needs as well. So when you're getting those 13 cups or your 9 cups a day, you don't have to drink 9 cups of water. You just need to come up with 9 cups of fluid throughout the day. And any of these will help meet your needs. You can also think about when we talked about snacking to meet other nutrient needs or nutrient gaps. Use your fluids to meet some of those nutrient gaps as well with maybe, I always recommend fruit over juice, but this would help meet a fruit serving or get you some more vitamin C, or your milk can count towards your calcium needs for the day. All right, so talking about types of water, you probably heard about hard water, soft water. Your book does a better job of explaining the differences in these. So hard water has high concentrations of calcium and magnesium, while soft water contains higher concentrations of sodium. So this might be of concern for individuals that have high blood pressure. So just something to think about. Public water is safe. It has to be tested and treated regularly. So the Environmental Protection Agency is in charge, or they're kind of the governing agency of water safety. So, public drinking water will be, the hazards will be removed from it. Disinfectants are added like chlorine, so that's going to kill anything that's in there. So public drinking water is safe. Private well water is not usually chlorinated, so it's important that it's tested regularly to make sure there aren't any of these hazards in there. Your book also talks about different water sources, so you can look at the differences between surface water, groundwater, purification systems, bottled water. The only note I'll say about bottled water is that it's very common, but think about the cost of bottled water versus, you can just go to your faucet and get water. And then also, the packaging of bottled water as well. But bottled water is still a great option if that's how you're going to drink your water and get your fluid needs. All right, so tying into the topic for this week, minerals. How do body fluids and minerals relate? So water is found both inside and outside of cells, and water follows salts, and salts are minerals. So major minerals are going to form salts that help to dissolve body fluids, and the cells direct where the salts go. Water then follows the salt. So basically, salt is pulling water into the cell from the outside. So this is really important for fluid and electrolyte balance. So, maintaining the proper amounts and kinds of fluids and minerals in each compartment of the body so that we don't get, say, too much sodium or too much calcium. This is really important for that. And if there's an imbalance of electrolytes, so our electrolytes would be things like potassium, sodium, an imbalance of those can actually be a medical emergency. So this is really important. Additionally, body fluids and minerals help to maintain acid-base balance. So minerals are acting as buffers to help maintain body fluids at the correct pH, because we don't want really acidic fluids in our body, and we don't want anything too basic either. So we want, to maintain that neutral or somewhat neutral pH. So in our next segments, we're going to actually start talking about the macrominerals, and then we'll end with the trace minerals for the week.